From the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia, this is CampusLore Live, presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined as always by my co-host, Aaron Murray, and special guest this week, Brian Poole, third-year defensive back for the Atlanta Falcons and a Florida Gator alumni. Brian, thanks so much for joining us this week. We got to get things out in the air early because it is Georgia-Florida week. The number 7 Georgia Bulldogs are playing the number 9 Florida Gators in Jacksonville this weekend. It is still called the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and we are going to talk a lot about that because it's the biggest game of the weekend for the first time in a long time. Thanks for joining us, sitting in between two Bulldogs here. How's it going, man?
No problem. Thanks for having me. And it's going well. I'm definitely excited about Saturday.
All right, so let's talk about your background first. You're from Bradenton, Florida.
Yep.
You were a 4-year letterman at Florida. Now you're playing for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, you had a lot of success at Florida. You're playing for the Falcons, and you went 2-2 against the Bulldogs. Being from Bradenton and going to Gainesville, was there any way you weren't going to be a Gator, or were you looking around the landscape saying, I might take my talents elsewhere?
I mean, I took visits elsewhere, but just going to Gainesville, it felt like home. So, I mean, once I went there and, kind of got a feel for things and, the guys there, I kind of knew that's where I probably should have went.
Now, Aaron's from Florida as well. You guys might have played in a very important game in high school. Aaron, did you beat up on Brian in high school?
At first, I didn't beat up. My team won the football game, but I actually broke my leg middle of that season, so I didn't come back until the semifinals. I believe we played either the first or second round.
It was the second round.
Second round of the playoffs, so my backup played Philip Ely, and then we had Orson Charles. I mean, we had a lot of good football players on that team. So we won that game, won the next week, and then I came back for the fourth game, the semifinals. We won that, and then ended up winning the state championship. So I don't know if we played at Florida or not when the Georgia.
I think we played 2 years. My freshman year, I really didn't play much, but my second year, we did. We ran the zone.
So I'm 3-0 versus you.
Unfortunately.
We will certainly get to that. Now, why didn't you go to Florida, Aaron? You're a big-time Florida guy, and Plant, you set records, broke every state record possible as a Florida high school quarterback, and you went to Georgia. What's up with that?
There's a lot of factors that went to it. One, Coach Dan Mullen was the OC at the time. I knew he was on his way out. Everyone knew he was going to be a head coach at any moment now. So, you're committing to a program, but you're also committing to a coaching staff. So that's one. Two was the offense. It really didn't fit me too well. That zone read option. I'm like, I'm not Tebow. You know that. I'm not 6'3", 250. I'm pushing 6'1", 210. I want to sit back and throw it in the pocket. And the third is, I remember I walked into the meeting room one day, and Tebow's in the meeting room, John Brantley's in the meeting room, and Cam Newton's in the meeting room. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit for 4 years or 3 years and then get 1 year to play. I'd rather go to Georgia. They had Stafford, who was going to leave. They had Joe Cox, who was going to have 1 year, and then it'd just be me battling against Menberger and then Logan.
Yeah.
So I was like, I like my chances better going to Georgia to be able to play for 3 or 4 seasons. So there was a lot that went into it. Listen, I grew up a Florida fan. We lived extremely close to Gainesville. Went to a lot of games. It was hard, and they were balling out too when I was growing up. So. Well,
you're wearing your Florida blue
I am.
today. I'm not so sure about that. I'm sure that might have something to do with your pick later on in the show. But you mentioned Dan Mullen, now the head coach at Florida in his first year, having a lot of success. They are one of the hottest teams in the nation right now. Brian, you had a unique time at Florida because you had successes. You played in an SEC championship game, and you had some leaner years as well. You were a part of Coach Muschamp's last year and Coach McElwain's first year. Tell me what that was like, because at Florida, success is demanded, and those type of situations where coaches are in and out, they're not too used to that.
It was definitely tough. Muschamp was definitely a player's coach, so, everybody really enjoyed him. So, with him leaving, it was kind of tough, but I would say Coach Mack made the transition smooth for, everyone. So, with him coming in, and, me personally, he had already kind of recruited me in the past when he was at Bama, so, I kind of already had a feel for him and kind of already knew what I was getting myself into, so I had a smooth transition with both coaches.
What was it like from a coaching perspective? Because Coach Muschamp, Aaron, you know this, he puts DBs in the NFL. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. One of your teammates right now in the Atlanta Falcons, Keanu Neal, he played for Coach Muschamp as well. From a schematic standpoint, Aaron, you could talk to this as well. Muschamp says, press man, beat us any way you can. Was McElwain markedly different in that area?
I would say Muschamp was definitely a defensive coach. McElwain was definitely an offensive coach. So I would say Muschamp was more hands-on with the defense compared to where he would just kind of let his offensive coordinators kind of, do their thing, compared to where McElwain was completely opposite. He would be with the offense and just let the defense coordinators kind of do their thing. So, I mean, it was definitely different. And, I mean, I think it helped me a lot, having both types of coaches, like one offensive coach and one defensive coach.
Now, Aaron, you're going into the Georgia-Florida Hall of Fame this weekend, which is awesome. Obviously, that also means you had a ton of success in this rivalry, so it didn't really matter which head coach was on the other side, or you were just going to beat their brains in.
Yeah, it's a team effort, though. I'll be the first one to say it. I mean, my freshman year, we went to overtime, fun game, and lost that one, unfortunately, on a field goal, last-second field goal in the second overtime, and then we won 3 straight years from there. But my sophomore and junior season, we won. I wouldn't say it was because of me. I played well, but I didn't really play very exciting. Our defense balled out. Malcolm Mitchell one year made an incredible catch, made a couple guys miss, ran for a touchdown. The senior year was a lot of fun. I thought that year, even though it was a closer game, we really dominated offensively, defensively. But we talk about being a Florida kid, and my parents still live in Tampa. It feels good to be 3-1 because about 75% of my buddies from high school went to Florida. I still talk a lot of trash. There's a lot of trash talking during the week, so I could say, hey, just letting you know I'm still 3-1 versus the Gators. No matter what happens this weekend, I'm 3-1, and our team was 3-1. But we'll touch on it. I mean, that game is just so much fun.
It is fun.
The fans, the energy, the excitement, and we were talking before the show, I'm just excited to get there as a fan and be out there, the tailgating, the energy level. I think game day is going to be there. SEC Nation is going to be there. It's going to be electric, so I'm just praying no rain. Just let it be a gorgeous day, it could be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. Going back to you, Brian, you had a lot of success in Gainesville. What was your best memory, if you could point to one that you had as a Florida Gator player?
I would really say making it to the SEC championship, because the year prior to making it, we went 4-8. So it was kind of an uphill battle after going 4-8. And then from going 4-8 to the SEC championship, that's like unheard of. So, I mean, I would say that was probably one of my proudest moments.
If our research department is correct, I think Florida went 4-8 just a year ago, so maybe they sneak back into the SEC championship.
They look good right
this
now.
year.
They look good.
Who knows? In Florida, for me, I'm from Georgia. I grew up in the Atlanta area, and I heard you say everybody loves Florida. That's not true. A lot of people don't like Florida. That's the fact.
So
but they have a lot of rivals. Being a Gator player, what's your biggest rival? Is it Georgia, Tennessee, Florida State? Where are you thinking? What's the game that you circled every single year?
Going to Florida, I would say we're everybody rival. I mean, we're Georgia rival. I would say we're somewhat LSU rival. We got an in-state rival every year with Florida State. So, I mean, it's hard to really put an emphasis on either one. I just usually want to win them all.
That's usually the right mindset to have. So would you call yourself a Florida Gator fan now?
Definitely a Gator fan.
So do you own a pair of jean shorts? I don't.
Drew does.
I don't.
Drew does.
Brian, you could if you wanted to. You were good enough as a Florida Gator player. You can believe that I don't own a pair of jean shorts, and that's going to send us into our Believe It segment. This is Believe It, where we state what we believe to be true in college football. Believe It is presented by Geico. You won't believe how easy it is to switch and save hundreds on car insurance with Geico. Believe it. Heading into Week 9. It's crazy. College football playoff rankings are coming up next Monday. I mean, we are really getting in to the meat of the season, where this entire 2018 campaign is really going to come into Zoom focus. What are you believing in college football right now, Aaron?
You're going to love this one. I've been saving this all week for Drew. Getting really excited about this one. I believe that Michigan is going to win the Big Ten. You look at them right now, the way Michigan's playing, I know you're still not sold.
Okay.
Defensively, we knew what they could do, and I think offensively, you go based on maybe this last week versus Michigan State, when it's rainy, it was nasty, it's tough to score points. They still scored points on the road, won that game, and they're rolling right now. And you look at Ohio State, the past 2 weeks did not play great. And then this past weekend, they lost. I mean, they got blown out by Purdue. We'll touch on that. But they do not look like a very good football team right now, not an elite football team. Yes, they're good. Is Ohio State elite? That's still a question right now. They haven't shown in the past 3 weeks. Michigan seems to be getting better and better each and every week. So it's going to come down to that final game of the season when they play each other. But right now, I got to take Michigan.
That's a bold pick. I'm just going to say that. But I like where your head's at. Brian, what do you believe to be true in college football right now?
I believe that the direction that the Florida program is going in is going to bring us back to where we're supposed to be.
I like it, yeah. Coach Mullen certainly got it going on, and they're rolling in Gainesville right now. What I believe, Georgia-Florida is a huge game in the SEC East this weekend. I believe it when I say that Kentucky is not winning the SEC East this year. No way. I know you're having fun, 6-1, top 15 ranking. Don't forget, you're a basketball school. Coach Calipari, Rupp Arena, they'll be there for you right after Thanksgiving, but you're not going to Atlanta. You'll have a nice bowl game. You know, you'll probably flirt with the Peach Bowl a little bit right across the street here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but in reality, back to the Music City Bowl. Kentucky is not winning the SEC East. They will not be in the SEC championship game.
That was passionate, Drew.
It's the truth.
I mean, you got after them.
Hey.
You put a dagger in their heart.
Persuasion is in the facts.
Wow.
Persuasion
Aggressive.
is
I
in
like
the
it.
facts. Let's talk about
deep.
what happened
That's
in
deep.
Week 8 in Ohio State. You mentioned it. You like Michigan coming out of the Big Ten. I don't think anybody saw Ohio State getting absolutely crushed by Purdue last week, 49-20. It not only did it go wrong, it went wrong everywhere. And David Blau, the quarterback for Purdue, I mean, that was a special scene there in West Lafayette.
I mean, but that offense, when David Blau got in this entire season, they've been getting better and better for Purdue. So, you know, a lot of people looked at the line for the game and said, okay, they have a chance to cover it.
Yeah.
Just based on what Vegas had it at. But no one thought that they would win the game the way they did. I mean, they dominated offensively, they dominated defensively, they dominated special teams. I mean, there was no point in that game where we were like, Ohio State may come back. I mean, I turned it on. I'm like, this game's over. You know, midway through the second quarter into the third quarter, I mean, it was a complete blowout. Purdue came out with a lot of energy. Like I said, they've been getting better and better through the season. So I wouldn't say I'm really surprised that Ohio State lost. I'm more surprised the way they lost. I mean, to get blown out, I don't care if it's on the road, 49-20, and you're supposed to be the number 2 team in the nation. That hurts them. I mean, that hurts them. We saw how it hurt them last year when they lost a big game getting into the playoffs.
For sure.
We'll see what the committee looks at this game and say, hey, even if they beat Michigan, you have one loss, but man, that was an ugly loss.
I don't want to say we overlooked this fact last week because we certainly did talk about it, but Nick Bosa leaving school, right? I mean, he wasn't going to be available for this game because he was injured. Brian, I want to ask you a question because you had Will Grier as your quarterback at Florida, and he was playing fantastic. You guys were on a roll. And then for a number of reasons, he wasn't there anymore. Do you think that Nick Bosa leaving the team had any impact on them getting absolutely smoked by Purdue this past weekend?
I would say his decision is obviously what's best for him and his future. But I mean, as a team, like you still got to step up. I mean, you got to have the next man up mentality. I don't think one player should determine the outcome of a game that much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it should have any impact on the team.
Well, you would talk about the distractions of this Ohio State team. I mean, obviously you had the whole summer dealing with Urban Meyer.
For sure.
And that all that nonsense, and then the question marks: are you going to have head coach, or you have to move on? And then now the discussion is all week. You know, based on you turn on any channel, it's about Nick Bosa. You go to any website, Nick Bosa. So the off-field problems that this team has had to endure this season, it's been a lot. I mean, from like I said, head coach to best player, a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. You're not only having to deal with getting ready for a football game, classes. Now you have to deal with even more media scrutiny. The questions, like I said, about your head coach, about your best player, can you guys win? It's all outside noise, and we know it. Coaches, players, they want to push that away, and it seems to be just creeping in every week into this program, and maybe they hit a wall. Who knows? It looked like they did this past week.
When the noise gets too loud, and we've all been in these locker rooms, you tend to hear it, especially now with social media the way it is. You cannot get away from it. One of the things that I guarantee you the Ohio State coaches and players are hearing is what Kirk Herbstreit said after the game. I mean, he was questioning their preparedness. He was questioning the character and integrity of the team, and that's an alumni, one of the best faces in the national media for Ohio State football. Yeah, he's doing his job being objective, but man, he went in on Urban Meyer. He went in on the team because, let's face it, they were the number 2 team in the nation, and they got hammered. It wasn't even close. I mean, it was 49-17, 13 late. It might have been
crazy.
40. It was a blowout.
But I do think one player can change a game a little bit. I mean, look, my freshman year when we had A.J. Green suspended for 4 games.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, our offensive game plan completely changed. It was heavy run. we had some talent still, but as soon as he came back versus Colorado, it's like, all right, let's open it up.
Yeah.
11 personnel, spread it
out.
Get AJ one-on-one as much as you can. Our offense adapted, our offense changed. We went from a 1-3 team to having more success throughout the year. So a guy like Nick Bosa on the outside, he demands double teams.
Yeah.
He demands teams to change protections, do slide protections to him to get 2 guys, 4 hands on him. So he does affect the football game. So losing him, like I said, then all the distractions as well doesn't help that team.
Did you ever have a game where you guys were noticeably better, not only in the rankings, but just on paper, on film, and you just flat dropped it? I mean, I'm trying to think of one that maybe you and I were a part of at Georgia, but
I got one.
Which one was that, Brian?
Georgia Southern.
I totally forgot about that. Tell us about that. I mean, as a player at Florida in
I mean,
Gainesville.
it's different. Like, their attack is really different with, like, the triple option. Like, we don't see that in the SEC. Like, nobody run triple option. So just seeing that, it was, I mean, they cutting everybody, every play. Like, it was a rough Saturday.
You're giving Drew right
I
now
can't wait.
ammo.
Just
giving
chomping
Drew
at the
rough
bit.
Saturday.
For Navy Notre Dame,
Yes,
because
yes.
he's really anti-Notre
They
Dame.
play, Notre Dame plays Navy
option.
this weekend in San Diego,
It's
so
rough.
they got to travel, and they're playing that triple option.
Man,
It's tough.
that triple option rough.
I'm
so excited
I'm
about that.
so
Triple
As soon as
excited.
you said that, Drew's like, I can't wait for
I
my
can't.
just add a little
That
ammo
was
in
I
there.
can't
that was
wait.
definitely a rough Saturday.
If Notre Dame does get by
What was
Navy.
your worst one? For me, it has to be Vanderbilt.
Yeah, we didn't lose to Vanderbilt. We almost lost to Vanderbilt.
We lost to Vanderbilt my
We
senior
lost
year.
to Kentucky in Athens, 2009. I'm dating myself a little bit there, but starting out that 2011 season, our senior year, 0-2 off the 6 and 7 season we had the year before. Speaking of noise, I mean, it was talked about Coach Rick might be fired
Well, you
mid-season.
lost 2 legit games that
We
year.
did.
I mean, we
Boise
lost to
and
Boise
South
State,
Carolina,
who was
yeah.
that was when Boise State was rolling,
Yeah.
and then South Carolina, and that was a good game, but then reeled off.
Might
10
even
wins
be
with that.
UCF and Liberty Bowl.
Ooh.
I know, that was a tough game.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that
Well,
was
UCF fans don't like me because I've been talking trash, and
know.
they love bringing that up.
You're the poster boy for UCF
yeah,
right
UCF's.
now.
Oh, you're gonna give us crap. How about that game y'all lost to us? What was it, like 7-6? I'm like,
Speaking of UCF, though, the college football playoff rankings are coming out next Monday. What can they do? And we're going to get into our projections right now. Is there any chance that they could even be in that 5 and 6 spot after this weekend? Who are your top 4, 5, and 6?
I don't think they can jump into the top 6, or not top 6, but definitely can't jump into the
Yeah.
top 4. I mean, maybe they can flirt with 5 and 6 if a bunch of teams start to lose, which we could see happen. But you got to continue right now. The path is Alabama,
Yep.
Alabama,
Yeah, exactly.
Clemson,
Pretty much.
Notre Dame, and then LSU right now at 4. I think the way LSU's played, they shut down Mississippi State, rolled through Georgia. They may be the hottest team besides Alabama playing football right now.
LSU, some people call them DBU. Florida, they have a ton of defensive backs in the NFL as well. What would you say is the real DBU, Florida or LSU?
I would say Florida, the real DBU.
I don't disagree with this, and I'm just watching your NFL game last night. I mean, you're going up against Odell Beckham, LSU guy. You've got Julio Jones on your team, Alabama guy. Calvin Ridley, now one of the best rookies in the NFL, Alabama guy. You played A.J. Green a couple weeks ago, Georgia guy.
Yeah.
Playing in the SEC, does it just automatically get you ready to transfer into the NFL as a defensive back?
I mean, I would say just going against those guys week in, week out, A.J. Green, Odell Beckham, Travis Knight, like those guys you don't have no choice but to be prepared. Like, you got to bring your A game every week.
How would you say you prepared week to week in college in the transition now being in the NFL for a quarterback? Aaron's watching a bunch of tape. He's getting his pre-snap tendencies down. He's got to know what they're lining up in. If he reads a blitz, X, Y, Z. Punters, a lot different. Are we kicking away from a guy? Are we going to try to work him right or left? As a DB sitting in the secondary, what are you preparing for when you're going against a multitude of different approaches in the NFL?
Well, now I'm studying more coordinators because, the receiver can only run what the coordinator calls. That's kind of what I study. And then, I study, my matchup for the week. So, the guy, how he runs his routes. Is he going to push off at the top? How he release off the ball, stuff like that.
And in college, was it different from that, or were you guys just so good it was pretty much man up and let's let it go?
We definitely ran a lot of man. We just simply felt like we were better than guys. So
Most of the time y'all were.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I mean, anytime you watch Florida and be like, man, Florida's defense is great. How tough is it to prepare? I'm like, they're the easiest team to prepare for.
Just 'cause,
I mean, all they do is run cover one. I mean, they'll run 11 man, so linebackers free in the middle. They're going to man up outside, play heavy outside leverage, funnel everything in, or they're going to bring a fifth rusher and just man you up and then have to win on the outside. So that's it. I mean, that was Florida's game plan. Then maybe third down, some kind of exotic blitz.
Third down, we made pressure, but
but other than that, I'm like, it's the easiest thing to play for. But that's, I think, the best defense is when you just say, hey, we're just better than you. We're just going to line up and play football.
It definitely wasn't a secret what we was in. And, I mean, we had great pass rushers, so, I mean, the ball had to come out at least in my
But that's a great team.
It's gotta be fun.
Well, Alabama does the same thing, too. I mean, they're not going to outsmart you. They're just going to say, we're better than you. I mean, we're just going to line up and play football.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to beat us.
Who's your favorite DB in college right now? You got guys like Greedy
My favorite
Williams,
DB
LSU.
in college, I gotta go with Henderson from Florida. Guy special.
You don't
Really
think DeAndre
special.
Baker? Do you think DeAndre Baker is as good as Henderson is at Florida? Because Baker now, he's a man-to-man matchup. He's getting the field.
I
trying
like
to cut
Baker's
halfway
game
away.
a lot, but I'm definitely gonna go with Henderson right now.
It'll be a great matchup
Yep.
this
A
weekend.
lot of
Who
good
are your
defenders.
top four right now? Clemson, I mean, they're crushing it in the ACC. I saw today, ESPN statistic, Clemson's got an 88% chance in the FPI
don't
to
play
make the
anyone,
playoff,
man.
and Alabama's right behind them at 86. So those two are certainly there. Is it LSU ahead of Notre Dame?
I
Don't let them
It's
push
hard
you.
to put
Don't let them
LSU
push you.
It's hard for me to put LSU in there because simply we beat LSU.
Yeah, that's a very good
So
point.
it's hard for me to put LSU at my 4. Maybe your 4, not my 4. But at my 4, I'm going Florida.
Oh, wow. You're going to
Whoa.
put Florida in your top 4.
Yes.
Mine, yeah,
So
of course.
if they beat Georgia this weekend, you
Yes.
think with another top 10 victory, Florida deserves to be in the top 4?
Yes, I would say so. With the schedule we played, I mean, playing in the SEC, I would say so.
What do you think the national media would do if 1, 2, 3, and 4, in any order, was Alabama, LSU, Florida, Notre Dame?
It can't. Let's go get Alabama.
Alabama,
Yes.
yes, LSU, Clemson. excuse
Clemson
me,
has to be in there.
And Florida, if they beat Georgia.
Well, I think if Florida wins this weekend, I think you have to put them in the 4. I mean, they
Yeah.
beat LSU. So how,
Yep.
if you look at LSU and then you look at Florida, Florida beat LSU head-to-head. Florida's at 4. You got to flip that around and then move forward into the top 4.
All right, so Notre Dame might be on the outside looking in.
No, Notre Dame's staying at 3. LSU's moving out.
Oh, I don't know. I think you keep LSU in there because why would you not want that LSU Alabama game the week after to be the best game possible?
It's going to be the best game of the week. I mean, 1 versus 5 is still great. I mean, 1 versus 3 is great.
I can promise you the committee won't do that. I can promise you that.
Okay.
All
I'm just a
right.
Notre Dame hater.
All right. Okay. So Michigan State. Talking about the Big Ten. You like Michigan, obviously. Love Michigan. Love Shea
Michigan.
Patterson.
Love
You were
Shea.
high on the Big Ten East
Yes.
heading into the season as well.
So competitive.
This makes Michigan the class of the Big Ten, huh?
I think it does. I mean, we keep talking about the way Ohio State's playing and the outside noise. Can they block it off? Can they refocus after a butt whooping like that? Where you look at Michigan, we keep talking about getting better and better. Defense was great. They're getting even better. Offensively, the struggles early, especially against Notre Dame, and then you see them progressing. I love it. I love what this team is doing right now. They're getting the big wins. They're getting their wins on the road. Michigan State coming off a big win versus Penn State. At home, they're pumped up. They're excited. I mean, I don't know if you saw before the game.
Yeah.
You had players destroying logos. You had,
yeah.
fights breaking out. I mean, that was an emotional football game. Crazy weather. And I got to say, Michigan played a heck of a football game with all the variables that went along with it. And right now, they're playing better than anyone right now in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Coach Harbaugh calling Michigan State Michigan's little brother, the pregame antics. Is that stuff real or is that fake juice before a game?
I mean, it's definitely chalkboard talk. I mean, stuff like that is definitely on the board all week. I mean, you hear about, the stuff that the coaches say, the stuff that, the players say in the media about how they feel about us, stuff like that. We just use it for a little extra motivation, I would say.
I thought it was certainly a bit out of line. The guy, was it Devin, what's the middle linebacker's name?
Great Flow?
Yes, who was that?
Great Flow.
Who was that guy
I'm
who...
drawing blank, but I just
Oh,
think
no,
Flow.
I'm talking about the one who stomped the
that was
the
a little
logo.
aggressive.
Yeah, that was a little aggressive. Kicking the logo, dragging the dirt, and then Michigan State locks arms and tries to push the entire field. This is like an hour and a half before the game, and like clothesline one of Michigan's players. It got out of hand, and Harbaugh said afterwards, that could have been a very unfortunate situation. I mean, you're talking about you could brawl, they could call the game off. I mean, it could get ugly. Michigan goes out there with a huge victory, 21-7 for them, because they haven't had much success in that rivalry lately. And D'Antonio and Harbaugh just keep chirping at each other after the game. This one's not going anywhere, but Michigan certainly got a big win during a big rivalry game there. And then Pac-12, they might just be on the outside looking in. Washington State smokes Oregon, and I know Oregon was one of our favorite teams just a few weeks ago. Herbert got shut down. It was 27-0 at halftime, Aaron. Is the Pac-12 done?
I really was thinking about getting a mustache for this show, just for Gardner Minshew.
Yes.
You got to love the mustache. I actually covered them week 1. Dude, they are a fun team to watch.
Absolutely.
I mean, offensive firepower. They're thrown all over the ballpark. I mean, it's run, or it's pass, and then maybe we'll run it at some point during the game. But that environment, I mean, we saw it on game day. I mean, they were jacked. I mean, that was an incredible place to be. I'm sure in the stadium was electric. And right now, I mean, if the Pac-12 wants to get in, you look at everyone's record, it has to be Washington State. You have to hope Washington State runs the table, wins out, and then hope a Big Ten team loses and Michigan loses, and Ohio State somehow loses too. Because, like I said, we keep talking about Alabama's a lock and Clemson's a lock. And if Notre Dame wins out, they're a lock. So everyone's fighting for that 4th spot. And I do agree that the Pac-12 is looking in on everyone else.
Do you think Justin Herbert's Heisman campaign's over with a bad loss like he had Saturday night?
Yeah, 2 losses right now. Listen, I think everyone's Heisman hopes are over with. If you look at Tua, I mean, it's Tua and then Murray, I think, at this point right now on the ballots, and I really don't see anyone else coming in close.
Washington State has a huge game at Stanford this weekend. That's a good head coaching matchup, though, Brian. You got Mike Leach, an offensive genius, David Shaw, a technician. His guys are going to be in the right position. They're going to come focused and prepared. Who was a coach that you played against in college who you didn't really know where they were coming from an offensive standpoint?
I mean, I would say who I really didn't know what to expect, from an offensive standpoint. I would definitely have to go with Georgia Southern. It's tough to get prepared for that type of offense in a week.
Absolutely. What about a guy like Jimbo Fisher, an offensive guru, a guy who had good players?
I mean, Jimbo was good. Jimbo was definitely good. I mean, I think he did a great job of, drawing everything up. I think my record maybe 1-3 against him. So.
Oh, really?
I ain't do too well against him. But, Jimbo did okay.
Absolutely. Well, Jimbo's got it rolling in Texas A&M, and they've got a big game this weekend against Mississippi State. Looking ahead to Week 9, clearly the biggest game of the week is the Georgia-Florida game. It's not the Florida-Georgia game. It's the Georgia-Florida game. Just a little tip there for you,
I think
Brian.
that might be incorrect. I think it's Florida-Georgia.
Depends on who you're rooting for in this one, but it's the number 7 Georgia Bulldogs taking on the number 9 Florida Gators. This game is played in Jacksonville, Florida, formerly known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. College Game Day is going to be there. SEC Nation is going to be there. It's huge. People are saying, and Murray, you're wearing your Kentucky/Florida blue. You say this is not going to decide the SEC West because Kentucky is mathematically still in it. But guys, SEC East, excuse me. Guys, this could be it for the SEC East, and this game hasn't really had this big of magnitude in quite some time.
It really hasn't. I'm excited. I finally get to go as a fan and just enjoy the entire process from Thursday night, Friday. I'm sure the scene's going to be great. Everyone's coming down there. Don't get to go to Frat Beach, unfortunately. Get to skip out on St. Simon, so going to just drive straight to Jacksonville, stay away from that excitement. But it's going to be electric. I think the energy is always great in the stadium and then outside the stadium, obviously. But I think it's going to be a little bit more. I mean, you got 2 teams right now, 1 loss, top 10. And I do agree. I know I'm kidding, but mathematically, Kentucky's still in it. But I don't see Kentucky winning the East. I think it's going to be the winner of this game right now. I mean, whoever wins this game, I think, is in the driver's seat. I think both teams realize it. Both teams have had a bye week to really prepare offensively, defensively. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's a 7-point spread right now for Georgia, but I think it's going to be close. Florida's playing great defense. Felipe's really getting better and better right now. I think he's second in the SEC in touchdowns. So his progression in year 1 under Dan Mullen has been tremendous. So I like it. And then we talk about Georgia coming off a tough loss versus LSU. Are they still on that hangover from a big butt whooping in Baton Rouge? So we'll see.
Yeah, both teams coming off a bye, heading into this big top 10 matchup. And again, it is in Jacksonville. It's split 50-50 down the middle of the uprights.
Beautiful.
With the fans. It's got its own Hall of Fame. Aaron's going in this weekend. Brian, why is this game so special?
I mean, first off, it's Florida-Georgia. I mean, that's one of the reasons why you probably signed to go to Georgia to play against Florida. That's one of the reasons we signed to Florida to play against Georgia. So I mean, it's a rival. I mean, just as competitors, you always want to win your rivals. So, I mean, once we win this year, you know, we got 365. If they win, they got 365. So you always want to be on the winning end.
I just want to talk about the scene in there, though.
Yeah,
because I remember,
so special.
I mean, you walking. I never went to a game in middle school, high school, whatever it is. I mean, my first time walking to that stadium was the first time I played there. And the warm-ups are normal. I mean, the warm-ups, you're out there, you're doing your thing. I think the drive over on the bus is like, holy smokes. I mean, the flags, the tailgating.
Everywhere.
But really, when you walk out there from the locker room for the coin toss,
it's awesome.
and you literally look up there and it's 50-50. And then even my first play, because I'm obviously the quarterback, I'm right in the middle, I'm looking, and it's hard to see the coverage by first snap because I'm just looking up there, you're like, this is awesome. Right down the middle, red and black on this side, blue and orange on that side. It's really distracting. I mean, it takes a couple plays for you to say, okay, let's play football. It's still 11 versus 11. They're do them, we're going to do us. But the scene it's stupid. It's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see.
Just the type of players that have played in this rivalry. I mean, Tim Tebow, Percy Harvin, guys like Aaron, guys like Brian, going way back in the day as well. This is an extremely special rivalry. And for me, you know, I played in the later 2000s when Florida was a national championship team, when Tebow was winning a Heisman, kicking to guys like Brandon James, Percy Harvin. I mean, those are dudes right there who you literally scheme for all week long. If they get the ball, it's got to take 11 guys to get them down. Yeah. What is the best game memory you have? I remember watching the 2015 game when Georgia was starting to play a little bit better and Florida just absolutely smoked them. It doesn't seem like it ever goes the way you would expect it to go.
I would say my favorite memory from the Florida-Georgia rival is probably causing a fumble on Nick Chubb. He kind of broke out for like a long one, and I was able to run him down and kind of punch it out. We recovered. The rest is history.
That's right, man. You turn the ball over in this game, Aaron. I mean, you're dead in the water for either side of the team. Yeah. And you know this. I mean, your memories run deep because that first game you lost double overtime. I can't remember the last time that game went into double overtime. We were back and forth. Started punting late in the fourth quarter, just trying to keep them out from getting 3 points to end the game. And then you rip off 3 victories in a row as a Florida guy. That's special stuff, man. That's why you're going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it really is special stuff. I mean, for me, my favorite memory was the Malcolm Mitchell throw. I mean, because it's a close game. I think we're up by a few points. But definitely, if we didn't score, Florida would have had the opportunity to go down there and score a touchdown and win that football game. And it was just a quick catch. I mean, it's a normal play. Florida actually brought out full pressure, so it was just one-on-one. Malcolm caught it, made one guy miss, got down the field, and then kind of split 2 defenders to get into the end zone.
That was crazy.
And I've never had so much energy in my life. I mean, I think I ran a 4.4, maybe a 4.6. Down the football field to go celebrate that touchdown. I mean, it was one of my favorite moments. And then celebrating after the game. Jumping in the stands, but
Florida was ranked number 2 that game.
I think they were up there.
And if you remember that game, it came down. Obviously, Malcolm had a fantastic touchdown catch late in the game, but Jordan Reed, an all-pro NFL tight end right now, caught a pass over the middle, was going to score and give Florida a chance to really get the game tight late. Jarvis Jones stripped him, and then they recovered it in the end zone. The game was over. Obviously, you were full of jubilation. I mean, the Florida defense, what were you guys thinking then?
I mean, it was tough. It was definitely tough. You definitely don't want to go out like that. That's a rough way to go out. And especially in that game, to be that close and just don't get it done, it was definitely tough. But I think we still finished the season out pretty strong. I think that was our only loss. I think went on to the Sugar Bowl.
That's right.
See, that's the craziness of that season, which cracked me up. Is
you guys went to the Capital One Bowl.
Yeah, we went to the Capital One, which is a great bowl, but I mean, we lost Alabama by 4 yards. I mean, we were right there. We were beating Alabama to the fourth quarter. And Florida gets to stay at home and hang out and chill and watch that SEC championship game. And they still get to go to the Sugar Bowl. And like I said, Capital One Bowl is great, but I mean, it's not a BCS bowl. Yeah. I'm like, man, we should have been in that dang BCS bowl. We beat Florida. That's nonsense. But I think that was kind of
the number 4 spot.
That was what's his name's coming out party too for Louisville.
Oh,
Lamar Jackson.
No, Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater
had a day.
Because I was at that game.
He had a day.
That was like his coming out party. I was like, who is this
Just
guy?
from the first play, we threw like a pick 6 and just down.
Well, I think that's when
who got kicked out of the game
too.
Yeah, who got kicked out of the game? Florida DB absolutely lit somebody up that game.
Lit him up.
No, that was John Bostic.
That's right.
John Bostic, the linebacker.
He lit him up. I remember that hit.
I mean, this game, the Georgia-Florida game, we're going to get into this week's matchup. But for me, 2007, I was a part of that team. And Georgia had beaten Vanderbilt on a last-second field goal in Nashville, one of your toughest places to play in the SEC.
Extremely tough place.
And we had a bye week. Florida was the defending national champions that year. And, they were going on to be the defending national champions, correct. Coach Rick told us that week, he said, if you score first in Jacksonville, we've got to get some juice on our side. We've got to swing the momentum into our favor. He told our entire team, if you score first, I'll let you get a penalty for excessive celebration. So usually you think, okay, choreograph a dance, get a flag, all's good. Georgia's driving down the field, and Marcus Howard, a defensive end, starts telling everybody on the sideline, when we score, when Noshawn scores, everybody rush to the field. People are like, what? Are you being serious? Well, Noshawn dove over the pile, crossed the goal line, everybody rushed the field. From that time on, I think we kicked off from like the 7.5-yard line. We had so many penalties. The game was insane from that point. Florida tried to make a nice little comeback late in the game. Georgia won. And then in 2008, this is when Florida was heading on to win a national championship. Tebow, they were absolutely stacked. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was 42-3 late in the fourth quarter. We scored a touchdown. Georgia did. So we got a kickoff. There's like 2 minutes left in the game. Chris Rainey fakes a knee. I played with Chris for a number of years in the pros. He fakes a knee, so everybody on Georgia's kickoff team thinks he starts taking off. He almost scored again. So they got the ball like the 40-yard line. Inside 2 minutes, it's 42-10. The entire Georgia side is completely empty. The entire Florida side is completely stacked in orange and blue. What do you think Urban Meyer does with three timeouts?
Go for it.
3 timeouts, and it's 42-10 with 1:30 left. He called all 3 timeouts. They were going nuts.
There's no love in that relationship. And I love the fact that you brought up, it is funny though, when a team's winning and a team's winning big, you look up and half the stadium's gone. It's a funny sight. It's a crappy sight if you're the losing team. You're like, man, our team's got the heck out of here. They don't want to deal with the heckling fans from the other side, but it's just the way it goes. There's no love. There's tough hits, there's smash talking. I've been a part of games with a lot of trash talking, but not when we play Florida.
It's different.
You hear some stuff. I'm like, wow.
They did their research.
What did he just tell me?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that one before.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a unique trash talking going on too.
Well, looking ahead of the game this weekend, Florida is one of the hottest teams in the nation. There's no doubt about that. Dan Mullen, if you remember last year, Georgia won the SEC, played the national championship. He said a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. I saw that quote has been brought back out into the open this week. Of course it has, but Georgia got a lot of question marks. They lost to LSU a week ago. They're coming off the bye week. Now people are questioning, do you put Jake Fromm in? Do you play Justin Fields? As a defensive back, who would you rather go against? A guy like Fromm, who's going to manage the game really well, go to his great reads, or a guy like Fields who can pull the ball down and make something happen out of nothing?
I think I'd rather go against the freshman. I think I'd rather go against the younger guy. Just because experience. In that type of game, a game of that magnitude, I'd probably rather go against the guy with the less experience.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not a lot of people are looking at Justin Fields as a true freshman anymore, but he's gotten very limited time, Aaron, and when they do put him in, they don't let him do anything.
It's been very limited.
That's a big
It is a big
stage.
moment.
Like as a DB, if I was playing, I would definitely want to play against the freshman.
Absolutely, and people are Georgia fans in particular. Last week or 2 weeks ago when Georgia was struggling against LSU, you're sitting there saying, why aren't they putting Justin Fields in? I think you just answered their question for him. That's a huge moment when LSU's rolling. What are you supposed to do?
Crazy defense, yep.
I say you stick with your guy. Whoever your guy is going to be, I say that's who you stick with. I'm not a big fan of the one quarterback get this series. Because it's kind of hard to get a flow as a player, like not even just a quarterback, just like as a player to be in this series, out next series. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of that. Like if I'm going to play, let me play. Like let me get a feel for it, let me go. But like to play one series, then be out 2 series, and play one series, I ain't a big fan of that.
I think you could speak to this, Aaron. What is Georgia going to do coming off a bye week from an offensive game plan?
I think you always want to have a guy. I agree. I think you want to have a guy, and you want him to be through thick and thin. We can always count on so and so. But I think right now they've decided that we're going to play Fields. I think it's been decided from the first game he's going to have a part in this offense. My issue is it just hasn't been clear. It's like,
Yeah.
what is that part? Is it, every other play and all of a sudden, it's just funny. I mean, you see the offensive linemen, they're looking over like, who's going to be our quarterback this play? I mean, it seems like it was not thought out and planned of, if you're going to do it, it should be every third series or every fourth series, or is it going to be in the red zone or is it going to be in third down? Something that everyone understands, everyone knows, everyone can rally around, and everyone can prepare for. The worst thing is when you have questions of, Justin Fields sitting on like, am I going to get in? Do I need to stay warm? Is it my time? Is it not my time? Do I need to go throw? Have a plan. And I think this off week hopefully gave them opportunity to figure it out. What are we going to do going forward? Because we like him. We think we can play him. We think he can make a difference in this game. Just set something up. And I think you can utilize them as long as everyone is on that same wavelength.
What do you think Florida's biggest strength is heading into this weekend?
I think our biggest strength is we know who our quarterback going to be. I mean, that's big. I mean, just...
And he's playing well, too. He's playing well, too.
I actually think Fromm is a pretty good quarterback. Like, I don't think he's done enough to lose his job. Like, I think it's an insult for him to be taken out every other series or... I mean, with the career he's had, and I think it's an insult for him.
I would agree. And I think from my perspective, watching objectively, look, last year he was extremely special. And last year, he didn't have a freshman 5-star breathing down his neck, sitting there going, man, if I have an incompletion here or an interception, I'm going to get taken out. Now he's sitting there worried to make a mistake, and it's showing. His confidence is not there.
But I don't think he's worried about losing his job. I think that's just the outside media saying, or in fan base saying, if he stinks, we want him out. But I think in that locker room, in the coaching staff, I think he has all the confidence from them that he's the starter. I think that's just all outside noise, but I think he is the leader. I mean, you can't lead a team to a national championship and then not be the guy because of one football game. I mean, it was one football game against LSU on the road, great defense, and nothing clicked. I mean, it wasn't his. I mean, he played a part in that loss, but so did a lot of other players. I mean, it just wasn't a good football game. You can't bench a quarterback because of one bad football game.
Yeah, we've all been a part of it. Some days you just have a bad day. And I know Georgia's hoping not to have a bad day Saturday, and so's Florida. So we got to figure out what's going to happen, Brian. I need your pick. Who's going to win the Georgia/Florida-Georgia game this weekend?
I'm going with Florida.
Well, you got to tell me what your score is. Are they going to beat them 55-0, or what's the deal?
I'm going with Florida 28-17.
That's a good lead score, though.
I like that pick. Aaron, what you got?
I got the Dogs, and I got the Dogs winning. Oh, man. I got the Dogs winning 24-21.
It's a good pick as well. Kirby Smart is 8-0 against Dan Mullen. Just go to last year. I know Dan Mullen was at Mississippi State, but Georgia beat Mississippi State 31-3. Obviously, Dan Mullen was the head coach at Mississippi State for a while. Kirby Smart was a defensive coordinator at Alabama. Historically, statistically, look back. Kirby Smart has never had an issue with Dan Mullen. And on the flip side, Georgia hasn't really had an issue with Todd Grantham since Coach Grantham has left Georgia. I think Georgia gets back to what they do best. Look at the game tape from LSU. They ran up and down the field the first 2 drives and then abandoned the run. Stick with the running game, and I think if they can put the game in Felipe Franks' hands, okay, and that's not Georgia's defensive specialty right now, stopping the run. They've got to stop the run, put the game in Felipe Franks' hand, and I think Georgia wins by double digits here.
Wow.
I really do, and I think they could score 31. Florida might get a late touchdown, 31-21. I'll go with Georgia, 31-21 over Florida. Now, that is a huge game, and it's the biggest game of the weekend, but there's some other games on the dock as well. Number 2, Clemson is playing at Florida State. Florida State, man, what a terrible start to the season, and Clemson is rolling right now. This one may not be close again.
No, but Florida State is getting better. Francois looks to be more comfortable in the offense. I'm not saying they're going to have a chance, but I mean, Florida State is not the Florida State we saw the first 2 weeks of the season. Things are getting going for them and Willie Taggart, but I mean, Clemson right now, there's no one in the ACC that's going to stop them. I mean, you look at it, they'll win this game. They'll beat Miami if Miami is going to play them in the ACC championship game. I mean, they're going to be undefeated. They're rolling. I thought NC State was going to be not a test to lose, but a closer game, and they shut Finley out. I mean, Ryan Finley, quarterback for NC State, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. I mean, they could not move the ball versus that Clemson defense. I think they're in midseason form. They look great, both sides of the football. they'll win that game versus FSU.
So FSU's down, obviously, Brian, but this game is in Tallahassee and it's a noon kickoff. Is there any way Clemson could get lulled into a slow start?
Nah, I'm going Clemson big. I can't take it.
That's because he hates Florida State. That's why.
Nah, but definitely, I'm definitely going Clemson pretty big over Florida State.
I would agree with you there. Clemson's just rolling. They beat
Yeah.
Wake Forest 63-3. They beat NC State 41-7. Look for another score just like that this weekend in Tallahassee. Big game in the Pac-12. Number 14 Washington State is playing number 24 Stanford. Washington State's got to keep it hot, Aaron. They have to if the Pac-12 wants any chance of getting into the college
They got to
football
make sure
playoff.
they don't, obviously big win last week versus Oregon, get going again. Stanford, where's Stanford's run game? They're averaging, I think, under 100 yards per game, and this is Stanford's offense we're talking about here. They're known for running the football, dominating the line of scrimmage, and it's been really hot and cold this season, and actually more cold than hot for them, which is unusual. So can they get it going versus Washington State defense? I don't know. I just love what that offense looks like right now. Minshew, the mustache.
Yeah.
The mustache is hot. It's a thing nowadays. I may grow it out for next week's show.
Come on, shave it. Let's see it.
I can't grow it. His is sweet now. Mine's not as thick as his. I got to go with Washington State in this one.
Do you believe in the upset trick after a big emotional victory? Washington State had a huge one last week at home. Now they go on the road. What do you think? Can they have that step back game?
I would say having a big win can definitely be a good and a bad thing. You can use it and continue to build on it, or you can think it's gonna carry over into the next week. But there's no carryover, so I think Washington State got to bring it. Because Stanford is a historic good program, and we know what Stanford gonna bring. They're gonna be disciplined. Everybody gonna be in the right place.
I would agree. I like Stanford. There's no questioning that. But Mike Leach and Minshew, what they've been able to do offensively, I just think they spread them out.
I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough athletes on Stanford's side to match up with four really good receivers, and then the running back for Washington State. He's been on fire.
Yeah.
He made like 10 guys miss on one of his touchdowns the other day. No one can tackle him. Out of the backfield running it, out of the backfield catching it. I don't see how Stanford personnel-wise matches up defensively, having to cover the entire field.
Another top 25 matchup, Iowa, number 18, heading to Penn State. Penn State's ranked number 17. This is always a very close game. Usually comes down to a late last-second field goal. Nate Stanley at Iowa, man, if the Hawkeyes have a quarterback, that's a team that could make some noise late this season.
And we talk about home field advantage, but you look at Penn State, their last two losses were at home. They lost to Ohio State. They lost to Michigan State, and then they won a close one this weekend to Indiana. Indiana almost came back. They got an onside kick, had a chance to win that football game. Penn State just seems to be reeling. Ever since that loss to Ohio State, I think they put all their chips into that game, all the excitement. You lose a close one to Ohio State, and then all of a sudden they feel like they just fell off the face of the earth. So Trace McSorley needs to get it going again, but I haven't seen it. It's been a 3-week lull for that Penn State team. I don't think. Like I said, I think they put it all on that one game, and now it's kind of like blah for that whole program. So I like Iowa. I think Iowa's going to have the upset at Penn State this weekend.
Yeah, Iowa, they have a hot quarterback, Brian. How long do you think a hot streak for a quarterback can last? Tua Tagovailoa, what he's doing right now, that's absolutely unheard of. But what does it take for a defensive guy to watch the tape, say, this guy's been on fire for 3 weeks? How can you stop him?
You really, really got to study your film. Really, you just got to just study, really the things he like to do. You got to study the ways that, they're attacking guys. And, really, you got to just get a beat on something and just be like, when they run this, I'm going to jump this, and I'm going to get it. And it's going to happen, and I'm going to the house. You got to visualize it before it happens.
So do you think Penn State can do that this weekend? Will they beat Iowa at home?
I think it'll be a good one. It'll definitely be physical. Both teams definitely going to run the ball a lot. I think Penn State can do it.
All right, I'm going to go with Aaron here. I like Iowa. I'll take the hot hand at quarterback. My second favorite game this weekend, Aaron, after that Georgia-Florida matchup, is number 3 Notre Dame. Heading to San Diego. This is a neutral site game, and they're playing Navy. Now, Navy hasn't been blowing the doors off people this year, but they do run the triple option. Notre Dame did have a bye week last week, but I think it could be upset a lot of time.
But the key is the bye week, and we talked about it. If you have 1 week to prepare for the triple option, that's not enough time. There's not enough time to learn how to take on the blocks, the cut blocks, to see the schemes. I think you have 2 weeks to prepare for it. That is a huge advantage going against a triple option. And Navy just has not played extremely well this season. I think Notre Dame right now, they're playing great. I think the defense, that they're doing great against the run. I think only giving up about 120 yards per game rushing. So I like Notre Dame. If it was 1 week, I may have a little bit different mindset, but that extra week of preparation is key going against the triple option.
Do you think that extra week makes the biggest difference?
I think that extra week would definitely be big. 1 week is tough. 2 weeks, I'm going to go with Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame could, score points early and, make Navy have to pass the ball. I think it'd be
Come on,
big.
Drew, give us the pick, man.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame here as well. But just keep in mind, they've got a couple more games. I've got circled, Syracuse especially, and Florida State if they keep
And
playing.
USC.
And USC.
I mean, USC is not playing great this season, but it's still a
Still a
matchup that
rivalry.
if you don't play well, Notre Dame can lose that football game.
All right, well, we'll certainly be watching all of the best games from this past weekend, and we hope you've enjoyed watching us. Big thanks to Geico for this week's edition of Campus Lore Live, and a huge thanks to the College Football Hall of Fame right here in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the epicenter of college football. If you're in the area, you've got to come check it out. No matter what team you're a fan of, they make a bespoke experience just for you. Everything will be catered exactly to who you love rooting for. So, for Aaron and Brian, I'm Drew Butler. This has been Campus Lore Live presented by Geico. Hope to see you next week.